You're listening to Keith Engle, the host of TGI Sports Talk on the National Streaming Sports Roku channel.
Good afternoon, everybody. Keith Engle here for TGI Sports Talk's MLB update. Hope everybody's doing well. We've got Tropical Storm Debbie passing through here in upstate New York and dumping loads and loads of water on us. It's been pouring down rain since about, 3 o'clock this morning. Thunderstorms passing through probably 5 or 6 times. It's been a again, nothing like hurricanes that people get on the coast. Don't get me wrong, but we do have some serious flood situations going on around the area. So hopefully everybody will be safe in our immediate area. Certainly a lot of you are viewing us from places other than upstate New York, and hopefully it's safe where you are. I want to welcome everybody watching on Facebook, TGI Sports Talk's Facebook page, our YouTube page. You'll see us later. And we're live on Roku on National Streaming Sports. We're also live on my personal page. So welcome anybody watching from those venues. We'll also be repeated on some other venues, including Twitter, because I can't go live there right now because they want money. Quick shout out to Ralph Williams at RW Media. Ralph does some great stuff down in the Pittsburgh area, specifically the Sports Corner with Smokin' Jim Frazier every Tuesday from 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern. I want to welcome and thank, I should say, our 3 special groups that we've been singling out. You're all special. All the groups allow me to share this to you. My shows too are special to me, as well as our viewers. But these 3 groups have been especially engaging and helpful, and we certainly appreciate that. The Bottom Line Sports, Flo and Can and the group. I know Can, if you're back today, we can talk some baseball, and hope you're back on Sunday. I didn't mean to blow you off this morning. I hope it didn't tick you off. I was just trying. I will try to answer your questions, but stay on topic a little bit. So I apologize a little bit for that. And also want to thank John Gonzalez from the Sports Authorities for his continued backing of this show, and Greg Rawlings from America's Pastime, The Love for Baseball. And there's a lot of great guys. If you're a baseball fan, you've sent Greg a message and ask, because he's got groups that set up basically for every team. I'm one of the people that help monitor and do some admin stuff for the Yankee group, one of his Yankee. But he got them for almost all the teams, and I'm sure that he'd be willing to set up if there's something your team's not set up. I'm sure he'd be glad to do it. So those 3 quick shout outs, and thanks to our guest this morning on One-on-One with Keith Engle, Brian McRae, former Major League Baseball outfielder with the Royals and the Cubs and the Mets, and a little bit at the end with the Rockies and the Blue Jays. A little bit of a late start. Brian was late arriving. No big deal. We kind of had an interesting discussion about father-son dynasties, if you will, I guess, in Major League Baseball, and a lot of other sports came up. We had a lot of fun with that to kind of fill the gap when Brian came in. So, and then Brian was very accommodating, I thought. We had a nice discussion. I cut it a little bit shorter because, and I apologize if I didn't get to somebody's comments, because we were starting to keep Brian a while. I'm not sure we overstay that welcome. So lots to talk about in Major League Baseball. Who's with us so far right now? Kind of a small crowd, but we always grow as we go along. I've got a couple people with us. I can see the audience growing on Facebook and on YouTube. We'll get into lots of stuff. The Sox finally moved their manager. Grifol gets fired after. Actually, they lose 21 straight, and then he gets fired after they win a game, which is very interesting. And Grady Sizemore is the interim manager. Oh, gosh, this might be like a fate worse than death. We wish him luck. They are now, by the way, on a pace for 123 124 losses, depending on how you want to round up or down the math. Go White Sox, break that record. Who else is hot as we talk about it? The Yankees, 7-3 in their last 10, still tied for first with the Orioles. The Royals, after starting to fall back, have rebounded to it with a 7-3 mark and got themselves, I think, 4 games behind from what I can notate here. I mentioned the White Sox. I put them in my hot list. They're 1-1 in their last 2 games. 1-9 in their last 10 on 123 to 124 pace loss. We'll talk more about that. It's too funny. The Phillies rebounding a little bit with 3 straight, back to 7-game lead over the Braves. Can barely read my writing here. Isn't that terrible? The D-backs are 8-2 in their last 10, only 3.5 behind the Dodgers. That's who this is. The Padres, 5 straight wins, 2.5 behind. Dodgers, I thought they'd run away with this division. I'm curious what's going on here. And the Giants, couple straight wins, it looks like, and they're still in a wild card race. That was my team. The Indians, the team formerly known the Indians, a big series with the Twins. They're only up 3.5 games, and they've lost 5 straight. They're behind 2-0 right now as we talk. The Tigers are 3-7 in their last 10. They're probably out. There was my, excuse me, my dark horse in the American League. White Sox, we mentioned one, and I got them on both my lists. I got them on the hot list because they're 1-1. That's probably their best streak of the year, the last 2 games, and they're 1-9 in their last 10. Rangers, 3-7 in their last 10. Now 5.5 back of the Astros and the Mariners, who are tied atop that list. I can't read that. And that's their last 2 I can't read. We got somebody lose the 4 in a row. We'll touch on that here in a second. Let me take a look. I probably got to the National League by then. There it is. The Pirates. Pirates back under 500 after making a bit of a run in 9 games back. They've lost 4 in a row. They're 4-6 in their last 10. The Cubbies trying to hang in there. But the Brewers keep that 7-game lead. Stretched it a little bit, actually. They won 3 in a row over the Astros. We'll look at all the divisions here in a second. Let's start with the Sox. Look at Griffol's record wasn't that good last year. They lost. What did they lose last year? Didn't they lose 100 games last year? Let me look it up a little bit. I want to say, and he hasn't done that well. I know he's in the Mets organization. I'm not even sure. Drew, I don't know if you're with us this afternoon yet. I haven't seen you say hi. So I feel like we had this conversation and you felt like he'd be safe because this isn't his fault. But it certainly appears that they're going to make him a bit of a scapegoat here. Pedro Grifol. What is his record overall? Let's see if I can find it. I'm pretty sure they lost 100 games last year. So, I don't, again, if I'm wrong, I apologize. I don't mean to put words in your mouth in any way, shape, or form, of course. We can certainly discuss that if you come on. Let's just see if I can find this record here. Again, he's put in a no-win situation here. Yeah, they lost 101 games last year. And they dismantled this team, but you just can't be this bad. 28-89. It is just god awful. Wow. It'd be hard to get another job off of that, right? Not a job in Major League Baseball, but job managing the team. Grady Sizemore, who was a really good player for the team formerly known as the Indians, gets the interim job. I want to see what his job was previously. He was a good player, by the way. I want to point out once again, what's he been doing here recently? Check his Wikipedia first. So he has been, he played with the Indians from 2004 to 2011, the Red Sox in 2014, the Phillies for 2 years, and then Tampa Bay on his way out. He is now the A's White Sox A's coach, and he's with this was his first year as a coach, from what I can see, with the White Sox, and anywhere from what this seems to say. Since he's been playing, the Indians hired him as a special advisor for the team's player development department in the front office in 2017. He stepped away from that position so he could devote his time to his young children. In 2023, he asked Josh Barfield, who was at the time the director of player development for the Arizona Diamondbacks, about the organization. All positions were full, and Sizemore accepted a $15 an hour internship with Mike Hazen, the general manager for the Diamondbacks, during that 2003 season. And then Barfield then moved on to become assistant general manager of the White Sox, and he recommended Sizemore for a position. He's been on the coaching staff this entire year, which has been a nightmare. So he doesn't have a specific title apparently, or did not. Now he is the manager of this team. So he went from begging for a job last year and working for $15 an hour to managing the worst team in baseball. Good luck, Grady. Grady had a pretty good career as a player. He played in all 162 games 2 years straight, 2006, 2007. Then injuries started to kind of eat into his career. He was a well-rounded player. Hit 22 homers, 22 stolen bases his rookie year, 28 and 22. Where is he? 24 and 33 homers, and was as high in 2008 for Cleveland. Also stole 38 bases, so a 30 for 30 guy. Nice all-around player. In the MVP voting 4 straight years, top 25, top 11, top 12, 3 years straight. Won a couple Gold Gloves. So a pretty productive player. We'll see whether we'll see how ugly things get here with the poor White Sox. I'm so sorry. Oh, I don't mean to laugh. It's just I've been very excited about how since I started this show, I've had a team to root for, and this might be the most realistic opportunity that I have. I know draft, I don't know, Stat Kings, draft stats, something. I don't know what the hell it was. They say they won't. They say they're going to go. I think they have them predicted for 117 losses. To me, that's being very, very optimistic. This team has now played to avoid this record. This team would have to go 42. They'd have to go 15. They got to get 15 more wins. I don't think they got it in them. They only won 28 games in 127 attempts. So they're going to win 15 or their next 40? 45? I don't think so. Chris is with us, Chris F. Grave, our Toronto/Canada correspondent. Paul DeJong has had a wonderful emergence, putting himself in that Dan Ugla. Ugla. I don't remember. I think it's Ugla. Where's Drew when I need my audio for my speech coach? Enunciation coach, whatever you want to call him. I got to look him up because I think it's DeJong, no space and no E on the end, I think. Let's check out his numbers here. It is. Because I don't know that I'm excited about his maybe, and I'm not sure how much sarcasm there is here. He's playing with the Royals. He's played with the White Sox so far this year. He's now with the White Sox, or with the Royals, I believe. So what's he doing? He's just totaled 19 homers, 45 RBIs. Not bad numbers. He's only hitting 230, 710 OPS. His on-base percentage, 270. How can you be hitting? This is Major League Baseball today. I mean, again, this is Dan Ugla territory, by the way, but Dan Ugla had a couple of big home run years with low batting averages. I liked his game, by the way. And DeJong was a pretty good player for a while. He had a 30 home run season back in 2019, not that long ago when you think about it. Never a big average guy. He's only hit 229 for his career. So this is right around his career numbers. Playing on bad team, although the Royals are a good team. And since he got to the Royals, he's only had 18 at bats, homer and 4 RBIs, hitting 267. So the peripherals are up. He's not playing a lot with the Royals right now. But listen, this guy's been a productive, somewhat productive. Look at some of these batting averages the last few years. It's amazing. Well, again, somehow these guys get 400, 300, 400, 500 bats. He didn't have 580 seasons, but he had 197 in 2021, 157 in 2022, 207. How are these guys even staying in the league? Yeah, I'll give him. He's having a nice resurgence here. At least he was with the White Sox. But the team was losing. So anyway, it's a good team. I'm sorry, it's a good. I think it's a good reference. Actually, now that you bring it up. Chris, I got to look at Dan Ugla's numbers because it's been so long. The guy I always seem to have on my fantasy teams. Let's see. Let's check out some of Dan Ugla's. He had better, until late in his career. Late in his career, he was hitting, with 630 at bats, by the way. 19 homers, he hit 220. 672 at bats, he hit 36 home runs. God bless him. 233 was his batting average. He had some decent OPSs early in his career, though. This guy had decent batting averages, much better than Paul DeJong, I'll point out, Chris. But I would say that career path of kind of where Ugla ended up, DeJong's actually playing better than Dan Ugla did at probably his last couple of seasons. Last 2 seasons, anyway. Last 2 full seasons. I mean, he played until 2015, but 14 and 15, he had a total of about 14 and 15, 250 at bats, 300 at bats ish for those 2 seasons combined. He only hit 4 home runs. So when he came up with Florida, he shined bright. I remember him going to the Braves and had a really good first year there. Only hit 233, but he had 36 homers and 82 RBIs. He walked a little bit. His OPS was 764. So, it's not a bad comparison for 2 guys. I can say that. But there's a reason some of these guys don't end up on contenders, right? When their careers are winding down, because, these guys. Actually, I shouldn't say that. The Royals are a contender, so they obviously feel he can help them off the bench because they're still, by the way, I mentioned earlier, they've gotten on a bit of a roll, 7-3 in their last 10 in the wild card race in the American League. They would be in if the season started today. They had a bit of a swoon before we we had chatted last week. But right now they're 3 games ahead. 3 games ahead of the White Sox for that last wild card. 3 games in a win column, so it's really a game and a half. 4 ahead of the Mariners that are playing well. What do you got here? How am I on hitters that swing at everything? Guys that don't walk, but they put in play, hit or not. I remember Oscar Azakar once had over 200 bats and walked twice. You got to be able to be selective. I mean, some guys, listen, unless you're Yogi Berra, if you're a bad ball hitter like Yogi Berra, Vlad Guerrero Sr. was maybe the best bad ball hitter I ever saw. Yogi was a little before my time. A little bit I saw Yogi, he was done. I was a tiny kid. But Yogi was a great bad ball hitter. Vlad Guerrero's the best bad ball hitter I ever saw. But you got to be productive, right? You can't be a bad ball hitter, to me, anyway, Chris. Like, let's take Let's see. I'm trying to think of guys now. Let me look at Stanton's numbers because there's a guy I always pick out, right? I don't think he helps your team. Some guys will, right? I mean, if you hit 220, well, I'm not going to say that. If you're a bad ball hitter and you hit 290 and your on base percentage, because you don't walk a lot, is 300, but you're driving in 100 runs, you're scoring 100 runs, you're still getting on base. I think I had this conversation with Drew actually a few weeks back when we were talking about on base percentage, and we're talking that whatever 70, usually 70 over your batting average is good. Well, yeah, but I need a guy. It depends on my guy is. If I got him in the middle of the lineup, I want him swinging at pitches. I don't want him walking. So you got that. If he's at the top of the order, Chris, I guess we can approach it from that standpoint. If he's at the top of the order, well, I just want to get on base, right? So if he walks, great. If he's a high average hitter like Tony Gwynn, Tony Gwynn would take a walk as well. That's fine. But you got to get on base at a 350 clip to be leading off or hitting second. In my mind, you got to be 340, 350 minimum to hit in those positions. Now, I don't care if my 3, 4, 5 hitters, or maybe my 3, I still want to get on base, but I want those guys to have a higher batting average and swing at pitches. I don't want them walking 150 times a year. Yankees got this huge problem with Judge right now. I mean, I want my hitters to expand their strike zone when the situation calls for it. There's a time to take a pitch. There's a time to look for a walk. And there's a time to expand your strike zone a little bit and try to drive in runs, depending on the game situation. This is what I talk about all the time, where we don't look at situational baseball at all. And Chris, your question here, I think, brings up a great point. I don't want to be trailing by 5 runs. I got the bases loaded and my cleanup hitter, take 4 pitches right off the edge of the plate and walk in a run when he might drive in 2, 3, or 4 if he expands the strike zone a little bit. That doesn't mean I want him swinging wildly, but expanding your strike zone is different than just swinging at everything that doesn't bounce up to the plate. Right? So I get your point, and it kind of leads me into the here's Drew. Hello, Drew. I think this was the example that we had, Drew. Good afternoon. Was that if I got a guy who's going to hit 340 and have a 360 or 350 on base percentage, that's fine. And he's sitting at the top of the order. I'm not asking him to drive in runs. I don't need him to. Expand his strike zone. I just need him to get on base, and I don't care how he gets on. I don't care if he's Ron Hunt and he gets hit 50 times in a season. Right? There's a reference for us old guys. Let me look at Loraza for now. Drew's asking what he missed. Drew, you missed. I just went through hot and cold teams, obviously. White Sox. And we can back up, Drew, because we have a light crowd here today. I talked about the Sox changing their managers with Grifol getting fired, probably rightfully so, but who wants the job? Grady Sizemore, who was working for $15 an hour last year as an assistant to the GM in Arizona, is now managing the White Sox. We talked about that. Then we got talking about Paul DeJong and his comparison to Dan Uggla. And then we were talking about these bad ball hitters. So you're right on time here, Drew. I want to look at Ariza. I'm going to say his name wrong. Jackson Profar, by the way, Drew, 298. Our weekly Jackson Profar update. 298, 19 homers, 71 RBIs. That's a pretty good year. His on-base percentage, by the way, is 394. That's exceptional. Where's Ariza? So he's only got 9 walks for the year. And listen, I'll tell you what, he's hitting 304. His on-base percentage is 330. Man, for a guy who doesn't drive in runs, doesn't hit for power, he's only got 17 extra base hits. This guy's got to either hit more or walk more. Right? So that's kind of, again, it's situational. That's what kind of how I got on this topic, Drew, with Chris, is that when we were talking about bad ball hitters, it also, whether I want guys swinging it and expanding their strike zones depends on the game situation, which, again, players today don't really take into account, right? I need Judge to expand his strike zone, but he can't if they're just not going to pitch to him. That's how I was starting to transition into this conversation about Aaron Judge and the issue with, because I'm not pitching to him. Why would you pitch to him? I mean, I get it. Austin Wells has had a pretty good run the last 6 weeks-ish. But I'm still going to take my chances with Austin Wells. I don't care what he does. Unless he's Babe Ruth the rest of the year, I'm pitching him every time. I think Yankees are going to have to make a decision with Judge and Soto and maybe flip-flop them in the order. And I realize that means Soto doesn't get pitched to, but I'm sorry. Judge is having a better year and a better hitter in the clutch. Soto's been fine. Yankees got a decision to make here. And, I would fault guys like Judge if there were situations where I need him driving in multiple runs rather than just getting on base, right? If you're down 5 runs and you're leading off the inning, well, get on base, Aaron. If you come up with the bases loaded, and I don't care if you take 4 pitches right off the plate, not a huge deal for me. Your run isn't that important. But when you come up with the bases loaded trailing by 4, you need to expand your strike zone a little bit. Walking is not what I need from Aaron Judge. Ariza, different story. What we got here? Oh, AC. AC's with us. AC joined us for the first time this morning during the Brian McRae interview, and before it, he was a big contributor to our conversation. Let's check out your boy here, because to be honest with you, I gotta check him out a little bit. The Red Sox, as well as the Red Sox have done, some of these guys are, other than Devers and some other guys, and Duran, the shortstop, Rafael. Listen, he's a good young player. 258, a low batting average again. This is where I come in with a guy like him, 13. Now he's got some pop. So he's got 33 extra base hits. I'm okay if he's going to strike out a little bit more. That's a lot, though. 106 strikeouts and 339 at bats. On base percentage very low. OPS very low because of the low on base percentage. Slugging percentage 416. I'm only going to say he's an average major leaguer at best. But I'm going to tell you that about Giancarlo Stanton as well, by the way. Got nothing to do with my bias against the the Red Sox. By the way, the Red Sox have done a great job to bring up, just to go back to the standings for a second, which we'll go through in a sec. There's still 9 games over 500. Big surprise for me. 5.5 back. And in the wild card race, I believe they are 1.5 behind the Royals right now. Good run right now. What's Drew got here? Drew's got a big... Braves collapse has been shocking, not so much with the injuries, but the Guardians, that's a bit of a surprise. And I'll say a team formerly known as the Indians. I'll just correct Drew there, but that's his call. I do not like to refer to the Guardians as the Guardians. I apologize to no one that they're the team formerly known as the Indians, and many people, including some Native Americans, would feel the same way. Guardians are playing over their heads, so their recent drop is not completely unexpected. Big series, as I said. They're playing the Twins this weekend, and right now they're behind, or at least when I started the show, they were behind 2-0 to the Twins, who have moved within 3.5 of first place. They just can't support them. Hitting just can't support them through their pitching injury. Well, I don't think we can expect any more from the Braves with the injuries they've had either. Drew, I think they've done a good job of keeping their heads above water. Now, the Phillies have rebounded a bit from their collapse. I did talk about that a little at the beginning. Not their collapse. That's the wrong word. They're a little bit of swoon. Everybody has these swoons at some point, and the Phillies were going through theirs. They've rebounded nicely here, and they've started to stretch that lead again a bit. Twins staying pat at the trade deadline may not have been a mistake. Again, with what we saw happen at the trade deadline, I can't really say they were wrong, that's for sure. Allen's Rangers trying their best not to compete. I agree 100%. They're coming to New York, I think, next week. Yeah, I mean, 5 in a row. They lost 5 in a row or 4 in a row. What is it? I had them down in my Rangers 5 straight losses. I got that. I got to make sure because so the Rangers right now. I'm sorry, 2 straight losses, 3 and 7 in their last 10, 9.5 back, 9.5 back, further out of the wild card than they are the division lead. They're not beating the Astros and the Mariners in that division. They're not. And I don't think they're getting a wild card. I said that when Drew and I did our recap of the first half of the season, per se, or the season to date, if you will, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I guess now. And I don't have any reason to change that. Too many people that are not doing the job offensively that should, and even the guys that are coming back from injury, like Carter and whatnot. I mean, they have underperformed. The pitching, while some of the guys have performed up to par, too many injuries, too many bloated contracts, and guys not performing. Not hard to figure out, man. Bruce Bochy, and Bochy's, listen, Bochy's an every other year guy, so I wouldn't bet against Rangers next year if he's around. He's not a young guy either, by the way. I'm 100% on something. Thank you, AC. Yeah, talking about Rafaela. Am I saying his name right? Rafaela, is that right? Again, his plate discipline will probably get better. I think the Red Sox have been a big surprise. We didn't like the lineup that they put out there. When the guys started to get hurt, I think the guys that were stepping in for a lot of these guys played better. I think Cora's done one of the best jobs in baseball. Listen, I got in trouble with Jack Hirsch a couple of Fridays ago because I said that early in the season, before the season, Joey Cora was on Alex Cora was on a hot seat in Boston. He said he was on a hot seat. There was conversation about the fact that if Cora got fired, the Yankees would be interested in him to replace Boone if the team flopped. It's a real thing. I don't make stuff up out of thin air. Now, is there something to every piece of information I can find? No. But I don't doubt that Cora wasn't on a bit of a hot seat in Boston. He's doing one of the best jobs in Major League Baseball up until now this year, in my mind. So is he in trouble now? Probably not, no matter what happens. I have not seen him play defense, quite frankly. I have. I shouldn't say that. They played the Yankees a couple of weeks ago. I didn't really see a lot of balls hit to him, so I haven't seen what he does. If he's that good, and he plays center field more than shortstop, okay, fair enough. We'll keep an eye on him. I like it when guys bring up guys that are off my radar a little bit, right? Just quite frankly, while it should be easier to keep track of players today, I find it harder. And maybe it's because I'm getting older. There's always guys that are flying under my radar, and I might hear about them, and then the name comes up, and it doesn't really ring a bell. 20 years ago, we talk about guys from 20 years ago, and I can remember everything about them. So, it's just something's different. It's probably me. Braves still have their many usual hitters that are way underperforming, so they can't compensate for the injuries. Agreed. You can't have injuries and have the guys that are left behind not step up and pick up the slack. Not a good combination for anybody. And with that said, listen, I really thought it was going to be a given the Braves would make the playoffs. Right now, as we stand today, they'd be out. half game behind the Mets. The Padres, who have been red hot, again, 5 in a row, only 2.5 behind the Dodgers, are at the top of the wild card heap. The heap, the equally hot Diamondbacks are second in the wild card race, a game and a half ahead of the Mets, who have the last spot. And the Diamondbacks and Padres are certainly in the race for the divisions. And we had this debate a little bit on the Mac and Jack show here in the last week or so, too, about teams care about winning the division because there's too many playoff teams, first of all. I don't need 12 teams in the playoffs. I just don't. And what that causes to me is, do the Yankees care about winning division? I think they do, and I think they should. I don't want to be stuck in that wild card round where I'm going to have to go play three games on the road somewhere, 2 if I don't win any. So I think there is still incentive to win the divisions, but I don't think there's enough. They have made it much, again, playing 3 games on the road. It's funny, Jack also doesn't think that there's any home field advantage in like any sport, but I don't think that's true. Some teams don't have a home field advantage. Many do. So yes, I'd still want to win the division. We got exciting division. A couple of weeks ago, it looked like we may not have a lot of the close division races, only a couple. But since right now, I mean, you got the Yankees and Orioles tied in the East. Red Sox only 5.5 back. The Twins trying to cut it to 2.5 today. We're still leading. Let's see what's going on here while we're talking about this. Yankees and Rangers already postponed today, by the way. You may see some more postpones. 3-0 Twins right now. And I'll come back to your comments in just a second. I want to go through these division races quickly. So you got the Twins and the Royals, because the Royals have really come back after a little swoon of their own. Only 4 games back. They're in the World Series. They're in the playoffs if the season ended today, which it does not. I'll remind you. The Astros and Mariners tied. The Rangers only 5.5 back, but it's 7 games under 500. I have zero reason to think this team is in a race, but we got a good race for the top with the Astros and the Mariners. Phillies are going to win. The Mets are in second place. You know where I got the Braves 7 back. They're 8.5 back of the Phillies. I must have been looking at the Central when I saw that. So my apologies there. That race is over. I think the Central's probably over. Cardinals have tried to keep pace with the Brewers, but the Brewers, I mean, they're nothing fancy to look at on paper, but they continue to play solid baseball and continue to lead that division. I can still hear that music playing, can't I? Sorry about that, guys. If that's been annoying for you, I really, really apologize. And we suddenly have, where we didn't think we'd have a race. I didn't think we'd have a race at any point. Have I thought up until today, well, yesterday, we'd have a race in the National League West, and we do. We got a 3-team race because the defending National League champion Diamondbacks have started to play great baseball. 10 games over. 11 has, I think, been their high water mark. The Padres, who have been inconsistent, have played really good baseball for the last month to pull within 2.5 games, and the Dodgers just can't get out of their own way. Rafaela has the same issues as most rookies, terrible plate discipline, which we've touched on. And by the way, let me just point out, that's not necessarily really specific only to rookies these days. The way we played a game today, most people have more players than do have bad. That's really bad English, isn't it? More players have bad plate discipline than do have good plate discipline. I mean, look at Stanton. Just watch him swing at balls that are, Anyway. Leads to hacking and occasional HRs with low batting average and on base percentage. I'm not sure what his defensive capabilities are. I'll keep a closer eye on him, AC, as I will do when guys are brought up to me to keep an eye on. I like to do so. So, Red Sox are all about the future. Well, they are, but Cora wants to go in want to be an all in at the trade deadline. He was basically begging the front office to take this season seriously and buy. Now, again, you're only going to do that to a certain extent. Teams like the Red Sox aren't going to mortgage their future, but he feels that, this team could catch lightning in a bottle. And he's done a great job of managing them so far. So let's hope they don't waste Tanner Houck. I think it's Houck, isn't it? No relation to Ralph Houck, spelled differently. I don't think they've extended him. Let me check it out. Drew might know this off the top of his head. I do not. Check out Alex Cora News. O'Neill told leg infection. He believes they can win the World Series. He said just one day ago. So this team, again, we talk about them. They're all about the future. Their manager thinks they can win this year. He said just yesterday. I do not think that they've extended him yet. I cannot find anything where they have. But I can't see them parting ways with him, especially after the job they've done here. Drew, just in case anyone was wondering, the record for worst run differential was the 1939 Red Sox, 349, minus 349. The White Sox are at mere 287. Yeah. So, and Grifol should have kept his job up there. I know that's not what you're saying, Drew. I mean, they lost 100 games last year. He's lost almost 100 already this year. Or Grady Sizemore might be buried before he ever gets a chance to start his career. AC, give me a bunch of 100%ers here. We don't know for what, but thank you. Here's our boy Chris. What do you got? Friday, Bauer Power News. Well, the domino fall. He's 10-0. Will Bauer pitch an undefeated season for his current team? He is in the Mexican League, right? And again, I know that we've in the past bashed the quality of play, and to me, it depends on. Again, this guy obviously would be playing well if you had a chance at the major league record. Hang on. I want to look up his numbers here while we're talking about it. If somebody was going to take a chance on him, though, Chris, this year, they would have already done it. Let's see where he is right now. It's a great thing about the baseball references because I'm going to get these stats as well. Trevor Bauer. 2.48 ERA, 10-0. What's he done? 83 innings. How many games has he pitched? 14 games, 83 innings. That's pretty good. They let you pitch in the Mexican League, at least. His whip is just over 1.04. Listen, he's had a good year. The quality of baseball, again, is what it is. But there's a guy who I have no doubt. The question about Trevor Bauer is not whether he can pitch in the major leagues. It's about whether somebody's going to allow him to pitch in the major league. The situation that got him banned, I would say it's unfortunate, except this isn't a good guy to begin with. He did get railroaded in this, but very similar to the Kobe Bryant issue. God rest his soul. I don't mean to pick on the dead, but, years ago when he got accused of raping a girl in a hotel room in Colorado. He was Colorado. And it wasn't true, but he put himself in a position where he could be accused of such a thing. Don't put yourself in those positions. Trevor Bauer put himself in a bad situation. Trevor Bauer has not been a good teammate or a good team player anywhere he's been. He's been a clubhouse problem. He's been a managerial problem everywhere that he's been. So this isn't about a talent situation. So I'm not gonna knock his performance in the Mexican League necessarily, because I know he can pitch on a major league level. I don't want my team to sign him. He's a problem. Even before this all came down, it was surprising the Dodgers laid out the money they did for him. The Mets walked away from him. A lot of teams walked away from him before these allegations that were apparently all bogus. This is not a great guy to have in your clubhouse. Great talent, but, best home record, Phillies 38-21. Best road record, Yankees. Yankees got to figure out this Judge situation, because who's pitching to him? I'm putting Soto behind him in the order. Aaron Boone even talked the other day about batting them 1 and 2, which I don't think I'd go that far, because I need their productivity lower in the lineup with guys on base. And if the lower half of the lineup hits, well, that's fine. DJ keeps hitting, that's fine. If Glaber keeps hitting, that's fine. But I need protection for Judge. And if I got to sacrifice Soto's numbers a little bit, and again, here's the thing with Soto, he's liable to expand his strike zone more than Judge will. And I'm not making any, I don't have any problem with Judge not swinging at some of the pitches that they're throwing him, because you can't. I mean, he's getting walked intentionally with men on first, when a man on first in a 1-run game the other day. And Aaron Boone said he's getting the Bonds treatment. It's not quite that. It's getting close. But remember, Barry Bonds walked, whatever year it was, but to like 230 times, 239 times, 120. I would say 230 times, 129 of them were intentional, if I have that number right. I'm trying to remember from the article that I read about some of this situation. Quite a tidbit on Marty Cordova, who we actually was our first guest in our return to 101 with Keith Engle a few months back. Marty, in his second game in the bigs, Marty went 5 for 5 and hit for the cycle. Marty had a really good Major League Baseball career, especially early in his career, as we talked about. And he's again, we had a great interview with him. We had a lot of fun. Houck is already on the downside for the season. Last 5 games, 4.78 ERA, 26 innings, probably overextended. Well, again, he shouldn't be. Oh, Drew, you've pushed me to that. Not you necessarily. Jesus, because we know what this does to me, right? Oh God, now I got to go look at his stats. So he's on the downside of his, and this isn't, directed at you, Drew. This is directed at baseball. Okay. Just, are you kidding me? He's throwing 134 innings. Overextended? Again, this isn't about your comment, Drew. You're probably right. But the fact that he's overextended at 134 innings is absolutely ridiculous. The way Major League Baseball treats these kids today. I talked about it with Brian McRae this morning. I've talked about it with Brett Saberhagen just a few weeks ago. One of the best pitchers in his time. The way they treat pitchers is a crime. First of all, going back to college and high school, again, when arms are developing, I get it. When you're in high school, even through high school, fine. But once you go to college and you're in the minor leagues, you need to be developing arm strength. You need to be pitching, throwing between starts, not looking to come out of games after 70, 80, 90 pitches. If you're going strong, keep going. Throw between starts. To us to be talking about a guy who's overextended at 134 innings. Catfish Hunter would throw and Nolan Ryan would throw 334 innings. Oh, sorry. Just set me off a little bit. Not you, Drew. The topic sets me off. I think you guys know that. And it's not going to stop. It's not going to stop. He's had a good year. He's 8-8. Probably ought to be better than that with this team, I suppose. Oh, I mean, even with this bad last 5 games, he's still got a 3.09 ERA and 1.14 WHIP. Only 8 home runs given up. Cutter Crawford on the same team's got up 27. Bellows giving up 18, 19 for Pavetta. We got to start doing things different with pitchers, man. Cora is extended through 2027. I figured Drew would have that information. I didn't do the right kind of search. It's hard for me to do it and talk at the same time. So, AC says, I'm right. I know I'm right. Just kidding. About Trevor Bauer's actions, it's probably more he put himself in a bad situation rather than hurt anybody. But attitude matters for sure. But man, if I had the talent he had and got the money he got for it at such a young age, who knows what I would do. I doubt you do the things that, I don't know. I don't know you personally, AC. People's character, though, don't do that. Do we have stories of Derek Jeter putting himself in a situation where he's going to be accused of rape? Just think about that, right? Tom Brady. You got to be smarter. You got to know who the people that you're hanging out with. Oh, he's not a good guy. It's that simple. He's not a smart guy. Obviously, you put yourself in that situation. And to be fair, Kobe Bryant back in the day, I don't remember how old Kobe was at the time. I want to say he was in his late 20s. Should have been smarter than that. A person of good character who's married with children is not putting himself in a hotel room with a woman who's going to accuse him of raping her. And I don't, and that's about Kobe. I don't know what Trevor Bauer's family situation is. I think he's single. I don't know. Oh, Drew says, what Red Sox may make the wild card, but their future isn't as bright as many other teams. Their minors aren't as full with choice prospects, rated number 14 earlier. The whole rating of prospects, though, to me, I mean, yeah, it means something, but it's all conjecture. We're never going to know until those guys do or do not. There is no do it or not. There is only. No, sorry, I got it backwards. There is no try. It's do or do not, right? I hope you know that reference. Listen, there have been a lot of minor league systems that have been rated very highly and then they produce crap, and vice versa. Right? Don Mattingly wasn't a very highly rated prospect at all. Pretty good career. Clint Hurdle, and I'm going back way in time now because I've been trying to get Clint Hurdle on the one-on-one show, by the way. Clint Hurdle is one of the most heralded prospects in baseball. He's going to be the next Mickey Mantle. He stunk. Again, so it's all conjecture until they play. AC likes those 100%ers. Thank you. I must be really doing well. Houck's 134 innings is most ever. Again, my point is, that's all fine, Drew. My point is, he's overextended at 134 innings. This shouldn't be. How old is he? It doesn't matter to me how old he is. How long has he been pitching? He's 28 years old. 28 years old. I don't even care if he's been a converted reliever. You shouldn't be overextended 134 innings. I don't care if it's your most innings or not. We're not talking about your most innings. I've just passed 280. 134 innings? God. That's the problem. The problem is not that he's overextended right now. The problem is that he has been treated up until this point so that he's overextended at 134 innings. What's his pitch count in these innings besides? I wonder if I can I even see? I guarantee he's not throwing a lot of pitches in these 134. Well, 134 innings is 134 innings. I get it. The pitch counts might be irrelevant in this conversation. I'm not changing my take on this ever. Major League Baseball and the way they approach young pitchers is totally backwards. They should pitch more, not less. God, I can't believe I've had this conversation about Tanner Houck this long. Jeter did the same thing, but he had gift baskets waiting. Well, so he didn't get in trouble, though. That's the thing, JC. Again, maybe he picked the people he was spending the night with a little bit more appropriately than Trevor Bauer. Again, I'm not saying you go out and you live like a monk. Never said that. But you got to be careful who you hang out with. Again, people with character hang out with people with character. You are who your friend. My mother, my grandmother, everybody told me, you are who your friends are. And it is a very, very true statement. And that means that carries over to the people that you choose to spend time with, whether it's at a bar, whether it's in a hotel room, or at a ball game. Again, we are not going to talk about, there is no comparison as far as character between Derek Jeter up here and Trevor Bauer down here. It's just that simple. Yeah, there's a right or wrong way to have fun, and you're 100% right. I'm just having, it's fine. Don't worry about it. AC, one thing you'll find out on this show, we part friends all the time. I disagree with a lot of people on a lot of things. Some of them you've seen on the shows this morning. Well, not so much this morning. That was kind of that was a great time. You tune into Sunday mornings. Drew and I are going to go out a little bit now. I'm not really going at it with Drew about the innings thing. It's more about the way baseball approaches these kids that were in this situation. And, we think 134 innings is a lot. But we always part friends. I'm going to agree with people. Sometimes I'm going to disagree with them. And, it just is what it is. So I like to have fun too. So you don't need to. Yoda. Do or do not. There is no try. Couldn't quite get it right in the context we were talking about. At 28, you should be able to go full season. Again, this is kind of how, and I don't know, maybe he was a reliever. I know he's been a starter for at least the last few years. And again, leading up to this point, you should be able to go. How many innings? Let me find something for you. I said Brett Saberhagen. And again, I would probably go back further. We're going to go a little long today. We usually are done so you guys know at 4:00. We're going to go a little long because I'm going to look at Brett Saberhagen's stats when he was 21. Brett Saberhagen, in 1985, he was 21 years old, not 28, 21. 235 innings, 20-6. Let's look at Nolan Ryan. Nolan Ryan may not be a good example because he bloomed a little late. We'll look at him at 28. Nolan Ryan's my go-to guy. 21 years old, not a good place to really compare because he wasn't throwing a lot of innings because he wasn't that good with the Mets yet. 1972, 25 years old. By the way, his previous high was 152 innings in the major leagues. He pitched 284 innings. All he did was strike out 329 guys and win 20 games. I'm sorry, won 19 games. The next year, 326 innings, 332. 75, he had some injuries, 198. Probably because of all those innings he piled up before, right? Hurt his arm. Yeah. Then he came back with 284, 299. At 42, he had 239 innings pitched. Oh, I hate this topic. I do like it because I get to get fired up. Chris, Tim Wallach hit a home run in his first professional at bat. Tim Wallach was a nice player, by the way. With the Expos, not quite as good with the Dodgers, but was a nice player. Good defensive player, too. The party didn't stop there. Wallach homered in his first major league at bat. Oh, his first professional at bat, I see, in the minors. That's pretty good. I liked Tim Wallach, rather. Chris Wallach. I don't know who Chris Wallach is. Pitch more, not less, right? I mean, this isn't. I mean, AC, I think we determined today is just short of 40. On the good side of 40. But anyway, look at it. But understands, man, guys used to throw. What was a meme I shared a few weeks ago? Nolan Ryan, his arm was so beat up over the first 5,000 innings he'd thrown in his career that all he was able to do was throw like 137 pitches in a no-hitter when he was 45 years old, I think. Seth Lugo is at 155 and doesn't seem. Well, that's a great point. This is a guy who has, and again, Seth Lugo's pitched out of the bullpen. I want to say for the majority of his career, maybe not the last couple years, but with the Mets, he was a swing guy at best. You know, yeah, they shouldn't be overextended at that. Burns and Scoble, 143, don't seem to be dying on the vine. Burns has been around a little longer than Scoble, I think, right, Drew? Debate makes the world great. AC is also a poet. It does make the world great. I mean, we have fun with it here. Listen, even when I get over excited, I do, because I'm passionate about the things I believe in. I'm passionate about baseball. For sure. And all the things that are wrong with it. I mean, it's still a great game, even with all the stuff that's wrong with it, which is a lot. But you guys, I'm gonna go through we'll go through the schedule here and then we'll wrap it up. If you got a few comments, we can certainly catch up with them as soon as I go through this weekend's matchups. We got a couple good ones, starting, as we said, with Cleveland at Minnesota. As we speak, the Twins were ahead. I'm assuming they still are. Maybe not. They were ahead 3-0. It was Joey Cantillo against Bailey Ober in this game. The Angels will go to Washington. Again, who's paying me to go see that game? Soriano against Parker. The Orioles and Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay trying to hang in there. 2 games over 500. Still in a wild card race. The Orioles really been kind of, them and the Yankees seem to flounder and succeed all at the same time. They're both at the same time. This will be Elton, just recently traded to Baltimore from Tampa Bay. Interesting. He'll get this start against Zach Littell. The game's at 6:50. The A's at Toronto. Mitch Spence against Jose Barrios. Houston at Boston. That's an interesting series coming up. The aforementioned Tanner Houck will pitch against Blanco. One of the big surprises for the Astros with the no-hitter earlier this year. By the way, congratulations to Blake Snell. I don't think we had a chance to talk about on this show on his no-hitter last week. Only 3 walks. The amazing thing about that, you guys, I really wanted to get into this a little more, and we will. The amazing thing about this was he'd never pitched in a 9th inning before. And if I'm not mistaken, up until this time, and he's been around a while, he'd gotten 10 outs, less than 10 outs. I could have this wrong. I'm not far wrong. He'd only gotten 10 outs after the 7th inning his entire career. Drew, you might have a little more information on that when we go back to it. Let me finish up the matchups. San Diego will go to Miami. Martin Perez at Edward Cabrera. I like Cabrera a lot. Miami just always has a tons of pitching, But why? I don't even know why they got a team. They don't try to win. At least the White Sox will try to fix things and try to win eventually. Speaking of the White Sox, we got the Cubs and White Sox all weekend. They start off with James Taillon, former Yankee, against Garrett Crochet. The Reds at the Brewers. If the Reds want to get back in this race, this is the weekend to do it. Spires against Savall. The team formerly known as the Indians will also play a second game today with Cleveland. That'll be Alex Cobb and Louis Varland. St. Louis will be at Kansas City in the what is that? I-85, is that right? I-85 series. I can't remember now. They called it back in '85. That'll be I can never say this guy's name either. I know it's not that hard. Mikolas against Michael Lorenzen, recently acquired from Texas. The Braves will be at Colorado. Holmes against Gordon. The Phillies will play Arizona. There's a pretty good matchup. Zach Wheeler and Ryan Nelson will kick it off. The Mets in Seattle, another interesting matchup. Mets in the playoffs as of today. Jose Quintana against Bryce Miller. The Pittsburgh will be at the scrambling Dodgers. Mitch Keller against that ace, Jack Flaherty. Tigers will be at San Francisco all weekend. Undecided for Detroit against Robbie Ray, recently off the disabled list. Go Giants. We want to get those Giants into the playoffs. Maybe one of my sleepers does well. Burns 7 major league season. Scoble 5, same as Hauk. Lugo 9. Again, Lugo did pitch a lot of those 9 seasons out of the bullpen. I would give him a little bit. If he was starting to wear down, I would give him a little bit of a break. But I think he started most of the last 2 years. Universe Galaxy, the Universe Galaxy NBA. Hey, can I have you on my program as a guest then? When? Sure, I'm up for anything. Don't know who I'm talking to, but reach out to me via my personal. Don't send it to the TGI Sports Talk messenger, because it's full of bots with bots telling me if I don't click this link, my Facebook page is going to get shut down for the last 6 months. So I'll be happy to come on your show at some point, depending on the timing and whatnot. But reach out to me on Keith Engle. Send me something via messenger. That'd be great. Let me know who I'm talking to. Chris F. Grave. It's interesting watching Ryan Yarbrough in Toronto. The pressure is off and Ryan can get back to being Ryan. Listen, yeah, that's sad that the pressure's off. That team's too good to be in the situation that they're in. I get Grafal getting fired. Why is Brian Schneider still got a job? Is Brian Schneider? Rick joins us. Oh, no fantasy update from Drew. Well, I won't sign off, Drew, until you give a fantasy update if you'd like, or you can wait till Sunday if you like. It's up to you. I'll give you a couple minutes to jot that down. Yarbrough's been awful since the trade. Granted, it's only been 2 games, 3 runs. 1.2 isn't impressive. There you go. There you go, Chris. Throw that line out there. Guys, I'm going to wrap it up if Drew doesn't come up with a fantasy update. Rick, thanks for joining us. I know it was a little late. Oh, Steven, you're late today too. Steve, I'm glad you popped in. I hope you're doing better. Rick, I know you're still recovering from some medical stuff. Steven, I know you just had some stuff, and we don't dive into details, but we hope you're both doing well and on the mend. I know, Rick, I talk with you probably a little more than I do Steven. So, Steve, I hope you're doing well. Us perf guys got to stick together. Usually say the fantasy update for Sunday. Rickles. I've been watching a lot of Don Rickles on the Tonight shows on YouTube lately. But you're blasting the team in front of you 14-3. No wonder Rick wanted an update and should move up the standings. Keith and I are beating each other up. I think I was up 10-7 or something like that when I looked this morning. Steve's all good. That's good to hear, Steve. Good to hear that. Good to have you. And I'm sorry you guys got in late, but we're going to have to wrap it up here, and we'll be back Sunday with the Stream of Consciousness. You guys have been terrific as always. I appreciate you guys participating. You guys have been with me forever, Drew and Rick, the guys who joined us recently, like Chris and Steven, and our newbie today, AC. Great job. Hope to see you Sunday morning on the Stream of Consciousness, 8:30 a.m. Eastern, right here on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Roku, the national streaming sports service. Oh, I got one more comment here I'll get to before I go. 9-8. There you go. Guess we are beating each other up. All right, guys, signing off. You guys all have a great weekend. We'll catch you on the flip side. Bye-bye.
You're listening to Keith Engle, the host of TGI Sports Talk on the National Streaming Sports Roku channel.